Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live here Friday, January 19th. Third hour Friday can only mean one thing. What just happened? So we look at the insanity of the week, and we have two returning champions and a brand new player on what just happened. So we'll start with the new person. Let's tell her what she's won. It's Amel Khalil, an actress. Now, I would say a comedian as well. She's appeared in TV shows like New Amsterdam, Super Pumped, and City on Fire. Amel, welcome to the Dean Obeidallah Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We'll be talking about a lot of stuff through the show. It's going to be kind of fun. Rhonda Hansome is back. She's a regular on John Fugelsang's show right after mine, a national headlining comedian. She was Bermuda in the movie Pretty Woman. She's open for Diana Ross, Anita Baker, and more. Rhonda, great to see you.
Radio Rhonda, present and accounted for.
Radio Rhonda. And look who else is here. Dustin Chafin, national headlining comedian. He's been on HBO's Crashing, Showtime's White Boys in the Hood, and of course a staple here on SiriusXM Radio. They try to keep him out of the building, but he keeps coming back in.
It's Dustin back.
Chafin. Hey, Dustin, how are you, brother?
What's up, guys? I'm excellent. I'm in LA, so it's pretty early for me, but I'm happy.
Wow,
to be here.
Thanks for being on early. We had Carolina Hidalgo on last week early. So we have people all over the country. Rhonda's in New York. Amel's in Florida, and our friend Dustin in LA. So we'll start with some political stuff here. And Iowa GOP caucus, Donald Trump won by 30 points, just like predicted. And are these primaries just performative art at this point? Like, is there any doubt that GOP loves the guy who attempted a coup and incited a terrorist attack, who is a white supremacist, who is just vile in every way, who's been indicted 91 times? Why even play the game? So, Emil, since you're new on the show, what is your view of Donald Trump and the GOP and the idea? Is there anyone actually can beat him in that party?
I don't think so. And I'm actually just I'm really excited to see how this all turns out, because I think the revolution is here. Like, one way or another, like, I think people are gonna like have an uproar no matter what happens next. And I think the fact that even in the thing that you shared, like the clip that you shared, where he's talking about like even any mistake, even if well-intended. And it's kind of like, well, mistakes should be well-intended, dude. Like, it's not like he's kind of outright saying like everything I do is on purpose.
Right.
So that's terrifying.
The revolution's coming. When you say the revolution's coming, what do you mean? And whose side are we going to be on? Is it a race revolution? Is it the poor versus wealthy? Is it young versus old? Is it liberal versus conservative? Don't get me wrong. I'm down with the revolution. I just want to know what it's going to be so I can pick I want to pick the winning side in advance. Because I used to be on Team White, but I see demographic change. So now I'm on Team Brown because I'm going with the winner. So I just want to get ahead of the revolution.
I think the revolution is definitely going to be displayed as young versus old, or as like race versus race, but it's obviously going to be like poor versus rich, anti-imperialist. I think like the 99% is sick of being the 99% understanding that we have power, and how we go about it is going to be a little insane, I'm sure.
It's very interesting. You're right, the 99%. I'm like at 92% in that whole thing. So, Rhonda, what about you? Donald Trump, he wins it. They're having the primary in New Hampshire, which are like, Nikki Haley could win. And new polls come out and she's down by 15 yesterday in two different polls. So I'm like, is this just corporate media trying to get people to tune in to something that's already been kind of set in stone what's going to happen?
Pretty much, yes, Dean. It is performative, but I do take exception with the word art. It is performative technology. It's to make us believe that there's actually something legitimate going on in our democratic process, where, it's like they pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I really feel like it's gaslighting.
And what about you, my friend Dustin Chafin in LA? What's the vibe? People excited? What's going to happen in the Iowa primary, New Hampshire primary? Nobody even cares. LA doesn't care about politics almost ever. So this can mean nothing there.
I mean, we're all stuck in our bunkers, with water and everything. It's the end of the world. I feel like, nobody can compete with Trump. The Republican Party, they draft like the Jets. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody to compete with him. DeSantis is kind of like Aaron Rodgers. He just started out strong and then boom, he's out. It's like there's just nobody left. So you would think at this point they could find somebody. Go ahead.
But Dustin, it seems like the more indictments and the more controversy that he has, the more his people like him, the more they want to support him. I mean, now at this point, if he actually did shoot anyone on Fifth Avenue, it would be an automatic landslide.
Yeah, it's like we like our drug star, rock stars. We like, they just love this guy. He could do no wrong.
No, the more wrong he does, the more they love him.
Yeah.
He's living vicariously. They're living their life through him. He gets to do everything they dreamed of, from grabbing women to saying racist things about Nikki Haley. He's continuing doubling and tripling down on racist comments about her. And it's not even getting much press because we've seen it so much. We're like, okay, he's saying racist things about the brown woman. Do we really have to cover this kind of stuff? But the base loves it. They're like, the racists are on board. Their team Trump, and it's kind of remarkable. I don't know what's going to happen with Democrats. We'll talk about that, I guess, another time. But to your point that you were making, that Donald Trump this week posted on social media, he should get full immunity from any criminal acts when president. He goes, quote, even the events that cross the line. So he's saying, like, look, I may have committed some crimes. Okay, I'm going to be blunt about it. And I'm a lawyer. Like, you don't put that in writing, but he put it in writing. So he's saying I should get immunity even if I cross the line, and that line is criminality. So, I mean, is this nothing more than sort of a dictator type of guy who wants to be able to get in the White House, commit all the crimes he wants, not ever be held accountable? Or is it, forget dictator, is it just white privilege, white entitlement of a rich white guy who thinks I've gotten away with everything all my life, I should continue to?
Why not both, Dean?
It could be both. I mean, you're right, Rhonda. I mean, it could be a combination of a guy who wants to be a dictator fueled by white entitlement at the same time.
I mean, the first time he announced his candidacy, he was riding down a golden escalator. I mean, how much more could he telegraph what's going on in his mind? He had hired people to stand above him and cheer. All he needed was Madonna singing "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina."
Amel, so what do you think? Do you think Donald Trump ever ends up in prison? Seriously?
Absolutely not. I don't think so. I think they would falsify his murder before they put him in prison and use it as some excuse to put the next dictator in a seat. I think in general, Donald Trump isn't the problem. I think he's a symptom, right? Same thing we talk about Palestine. These are all symptoms of a bigger disease. And it's the same as this false dichotomy with thinking that we have an option between red or blue. It's like when you tell your kids, oh, do you want the red shirt or blue shirt, just so that they don't think about that they have a whole other closet of options.
Right.
That's what our system is.
Well, Amel, I don't disagree with you, but I would like to see him pull one of those John Gotti kind of things where he's in jail and he's still running the whole shebang, having his food delivered.
His cheeseburgers, his McDonald's cheeseburgers brought in.
His hamburgers with extra ketchup, and
panning bed.
Because we were sold a bill of goods that he was going to pick the best people and he was going to have adults in the room with him. And it turns out all the rest of them were like big babies, and he was just running the entire show.
Look, what are you going to say, Amel?
Yeah, birds of a feather. He's a big baby. He brought his friends. It all makes sense to me. It all adds up. He was like, I'm going to bring some very good people, and he brought them.
To me, if Trump, I think he's going to end up in jail or he's going to flee the jurisdiction. I really do. It's going to be gone, that type of thing where he's like, I don't need this. But if he went to jail, he would, of course, tell you, when I got to prison, it was the worst jail ever. Now it's the best jail. People are committing crimes just to get in this prison.
The food's better.
The food's better. I got a whole cell block here. I'm in the Orange Brotherhood.
Wonderful people. Wonderful people.
On both sides, Dustin.
Right, both sides.
Wonderful people.
I hope that if he goes to jail, that the Muslim inmates welcome him especially nicely. Hey, remember you were going to ban us? Welcome to the shower. Okay, so Dustin, look, as the resident white guy on this panel here tonight, when you hear
Native American, by the way, so
right, he's part Native American, so it's true. But now we're going to appeal to your white part of your brain. Because you come from
Texas side,
Texas side, grew up in Texas. When you hear, when people you grew up with, or even friends, or even you hear the term white privilege or white entitlement, when people though are white and they're struggling to make ends meet, Do you think that rightfully angers them a bit, the idea of white privilege? And they're like, where's the privilege in my life type of thing?
Yeah, I was born in a trailer park in Kilgore, Texas. So there was not much privilege there, you know? So I think there's a big gap between what this white privilege is and what most of America is. And we're not, I mean, it's not just some direct privilege that everybody gets. And that's what people think, you know, just because you're white or whatever, life works out. That is not true. You know, it doesn't always work out.
It's true what you're saying, Dustin, but the fact remains that as little as white works out for lower class whites, for those who are actually poor, it is worse for Black people. You know, even as so much as that a poor white person with a high school education will be considered more for employment or for positions than a Black person who may have actually finished college. And you're right. It's not just widespread privilege. It's more so what white people are not subject to that Black people have to endure. I don't disagree with you, and poor whites do have it bad. But you know, for me, I feel like I feel some kind of way when I hear white people talking about they have anxiety, you know, over you know, talking on the phone or going outside, and I'm going, have you tried being Black all your life? You know, that's anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, to tap into the native side of me, it's like, you know, growing up and just seeing our people being cartoon characters, you know, and just on the side of football helmets and just mascots and things like that. So we didn't even feel like we were real people. We were like the Dolphins and the Bills and whatever. Like that's how they animalized us as people. So I understand what you feel.
Let me ask you, Amel, would you like to see though sports teams based on Arabs? Like the New York Palestinians are taking on, you know, the Baltimore Egyptians today. Like, oh, look how cool this is. It's a bunch of, because on some level, because look, every minority community has the representation in the media, which has been crappy, done by certain people to make profit off it. So as you might imagine, for people who are Arab and Muslim, it's terrorist, that kind of stuff. But so to me, it's a step up. If we could be like today, the New York Palestinians won a big game, I'd be like, how exciting!
You would not be happy. Yeah, there would be terrorist attack on that stadium in like 2 days.
No, they'd be the Sanford Stadium. Emma, so what do you think? So. Is there, well, like, where do you draw the line? I mean, would it be fun to have sports teams? Like, I know Dustin doesn't want it named after Native Americans because
do you have a problem with Palestinians
belittling
right now? Let's have
do. You're belittling of people. It's horrible.
The Jersey Jordanians. And it's like they come out there and they come out with their coffee and smoking cigarettes. The whole football team in America with a cigarette problem. They're like throwing cigarette butts on the field. Like, hey,
you guys complained about Aladdin. You think you're going to be okay with a football team?
Oh, that's a good point. We did have problems with Aladdin. That's a fair point. You're right. We did, but it was the lines, the lyrics in the song, the opening song, like they cut your hand off and that kind of stuff. But Aladdin, Amel, did you have a problem with Aladdin? Any issues there?
No, you know, I would audition for Princess Jasmine tomorrow if I could. But you know, I'm kind of a sellout in certain ways.
So how is that a sellout? There's nothing wrong with Princess Jasmine. It wasn't for. It's a strong-willed woman who wants her own destiny and future. I like that. I mean, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the story is problematic, but again, it's just a symptom of the Disney disease. So like, well, Pocahontas is problematic. Like at the end of the day, like, all of Disney's storylines are problematic, but I will never stop watching Disney movies. I know like we're supposed to boycott here and there, but like I can't stop. They're so good. Like all of my life morals and moral compass comes from Disney movies, even though they steal them from like us.
But no, that's a fair point. And that kind of the idea of the art, and you can like the art, but have some issues with the business part of it. Emma, is there any version of brown privilege? I know there's white privilege. Do we have any kind of, because you're 100% brown. I'm mixed. I'm half Italian, half Palestinian. So I'm also 100% Palestinian.
You know what? I think we're on our way to brown privilege.
Really?
Yeah. Like looking at the way the tide has shifted since the recent events in Palestine, I have never been more comfortable like walking around with a kufiya or saying I'm Palestinian. And so I don't know if I've been so abused as an Arab that like being able to identify as an Arab is privilege now. But like we're one step closer to being able to say like don't talk crazy. Everybody knows what is happening.
Your
Yeah.
accent, though.
How about no privilege? That would be
No
nice.
privilege? Nobody gets
Yeah.
any privilege whatsoever. We all start over.
Well, the idea of what that is, yeah. We just, let's all start over. Yeah, I
Take
think
the
we
money
do need
from the
a
wealthy.
reset.
Are you
We
saying
need a
take the money
reset.
from the wealthy? Robin Hood
Sure.
scenario. We
Oh,
take
I'm
all
all
the
socialist. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's funny. There was when I was younger, I'm like, socialism sounds horrible. And you get older, like, that's not bad.
Not
because
at all.
you're not going to, unless you're going to be one of the really wealthy people out there, you're like, everyone having some decent life wouldn't be bad. And you can find your happiness within that, as opposed to the 1% we talked about earlier that Amel was talking about that have this extreme wealth, which got even more grotesque during COVID. More billionaires made in COVID. Unbelievable. I don't know how, but they did. And now you see the manifestation of their power in terms of Elon Musk, like taking Twitter and then changing that as a platform completely. You have other billionaires like this guy, Bill Ackman from Wall Street, who really rode on Harvard and ended up pressuring them to fire their president.
Yeah, but that whole plagiarism thing it's like it really is unacceptable unless you're married to a billionaire investor. Then plagiarism is just a missing comma.
Ask Cat Williams. I tell you, plagiarism.
I'm chatting. It's what just happened. Our friends Amel Khalil, Rhonda Hansome, and Dustin Chafin join us this week. So by the way, I just touch on this for a second though, because Nikki Haley was being so righteous in her town hall last night. She was saying Donald Trump needs to answer for any crimes, and the system has to play out. And if he's convicted, he has to pay the price. But if I'm elected president, I'm going to pardon him. I'm like, something didn't make sense in that line of reasoning, because she had me up until I'm going to pardon him, which is just trying to pander to the MAGA base, the supporter. And she said putting him in jail will divide the country further. I'm like, no, it'll excite a lot of the country. I don't think divide's the right word. So, Rhonda, you think Trump going to jail? If he went to jail, and this idea of Nikki Haley, I'm going to pardon him, I don't think she'll ever be president. But isn't it BS? I mean, the idea of like he should answer, he should go on trial, nothing interrupted. He has his right, and if he's convicted, then he has to pay the price. But I'm going to pardon him.
That's Nikki's best Susan Collins impression. She's trying to sit on the fence, have it both ways, and it's not going to work for her any more than not being able to say slavery. Come on.
Because of the Civil War, yep.
Yeah, get off the fence. It doesn't work for Susan Collins, and it doesn't look good on you either.
So, Dustin, Nikki Haley, do you think this GOP, from what you know of it, would nominate as their leader a brown woman who is of Indian ethnicity or whose parents are immigrants?
Anything but Biden, I think, is what they're thinking. So, yeah, I think they might, but I think they could if Trump somehow stumbles out of this. But I think sending him to jail is crucial, because if he doesn't go to jail, like if he does go to jail, it's so the right needs to have accountability. Like if you act this way, this is what happens. Because if he doesn't go to jail, the right base is going to get worse and worse. We're gonna find people just freaking out even more. People are gonna. Good luck trying to get out. Good luck trying to write somebody a speeding ticket if Trump doesn't go to jail. You know what I mean?
There's the idea like, why should I be held accountable?
Yeah, I don't have to do anything. This guy, my hero, he could do whatever. All I have to do is act Trump, and I can get out of things. And that it's really the cult is getting deeper and deeper into people's psyche, and they think they can just be like him. That's the scary part. It's not just one Trump. There's millions.
Emma, what about the idea if you don't hold Trump accountable for the crimes we saw him commit? Like January 6th was all him. People don't even show up on January 6th. He doesn't call them there and say, go down there, and we can't let this happen. So the attack happens. And we also know now from investigations that behind the scenes, he was doing a coup. Like he really was doing a coup. If he's not put in jail for any of that, should we just stop saying we're a nation of laws? It's just absolute BS. Or in your mind, was it already BS in terms of the legal system?
I'm gonna come off sounding like the biggest anarchist after this. Like it's already a nation of
love
bullshit. Like, I mean, just they don't even have to think twice about what they're saying. Like in that same article, she says, I think that if we pardoned him, it would be healing for the country, or else
Not
there
for
would be
me.
divide. Do you listen to yourself anymore? Like, no one's even holding them accountable to say things that make sense anymore. I don't see how I would be healed as like an American citizen if Trump didn't go to jail. It's not, the math isn't mathing for me. And I think before they used to make it add up, at least like in a display, They used to make it add up, and now they don't even care. So to Dustin's point, like it's just gonna cause like a lot of trauma in our systems, where people who feel entitled are like, I don't have to follow the rules because I'm like Master Trump and I don't want to. And then there's going to be people who are see through the system and are irate, understandably so, and say, you're not going to hold me accountable. F that.
Right. I agree.
It's
absolutely. So let's shift gears and talk about the Middle East for a second, although it's come up a little bit, and we're going to go back to Amel on this one. So Netanyahu, the prime minister, said yesterday, despite the fact President Biden has been saying, when this is over, we have to talk about a Palestinian state, which we've heard all our lives, and it doesn't really happen, but we've heard people say that. But Biden was making it a big deal. So Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, said yesterday, nah, there's not going to be a Palestinian state. And they added, in the future, the state of Israel has to control from the river to the sea. And when Rashida Tlaib, the congresswoman who's Palestinian, said Palestine free from the river to the sea, they said it was calling for a genocide of Jewish people. So, Amel, how do we, if we're going to just apply the same logic, is Netanyahu calling for a genocide of Palestinian Christians and Muslims from the river to the sea by using the same language?
I think he has already called for a genocide in the genocide that's happening. So there's that. And also, like, yeah, the one thing about Israel that I appreciate is that they always say who they are. They always say what they want, and then they go for it. And so they're telling you they want the greater Israel region. That's what they want. Right. And they're going to go for it. And we're all just going to sit by and watch and pay for it, actually.
It's remarkable. And you're right. It's like Trump. Like Trump says what it's going to be. But the American media for the longest time hasn't covered. Like Benjamin Netanyahu in 2015 said, there'll not be a Palestinian state on my watch. And I keep sharing the article with people for years. I go, look, and now he says, they go, oh my God. I go, what have I been showing you? I've been posting this for like 5 years. And I'm like, there's nobody's playing. Like, he's not the guy that's going to be the peacemaker. There could be maybe a liberal prime minister of Israel. Maybe not, maybe never happens. Maybe I'm naive to hope that, but it's not going to be Netanyahu. That's for sure. So that's the reality of the world we live in right now. So let's take a break and come back and talk more about pop culture issues. A lot of stuff. Taylor Swift going to Europe. It's already affecting travel plans. It's unbelievable. Madonna's being sued. Madonna's getting sued by 2 people in Brooklyn. And a lot more. So let's take a break. Be back with more of the Dean Obeidallah Show right after this. You guys ready? We'll go right back. Here we go. And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live here Friday, January 19th, continuing what just happened with our new friend, Amel Khalil, our old friend, not age, and just veterans.
I'm a woman of a certain age, Dean.
You're a veteran. There's no age.
We're all old. We're all
stop it. Dustin Chafin, coming to us from his nursing home right now. Rhonda Hansome.
Can I get some pudding? Thanks.
There's no age in this business. It's whatever you look, right? Chronologically means nothing. Like
comics age differently. Yeah.
Right. We do. And we're children forever. I just saw a picture with Jim Carrey's birthday party. He's 62, and I just said age doesn't matter, but I'm just saying it for the point. He's sitting there, and he's there with Adam Sandler next to him, and David Spade, and Bill Burr, and Jeff Ross, and all these people who have stunted growth, arrested development, and they're like, Mark Maron once said something, and it's not like I quote Mark Maron, but this is true because it stuck with me. He goes, "Comedy is what you do as your friends get old," and it always stayed with me. The idea that we're eternally youthful. We are the Peter Pan and Tinkerbell of this world. And I'm just saying the Jim Carrey thing, they were having so much, they didn't look like, Sandler's close to 62, right? So they didn't look like a dinner party of guys who were in their 60s having dinner. It looked like fun, and they were silly, and they weren't drunk. They were just having a great time. And that's the spirit. And that's why I'm not kidding, crying out. People ask my age. I'm like, would you shut up? My age doesn't matter. Just shut up. First of all, I'm in a business where if you're too old, you're dead. And second, that it doesn't matter. I have friends. First of all, to be clear, I'm 24, right? That's important. Just say that Trump just aged me. Like Trump aged the crap out of me. This is what he's done to me. But so I didn't want to get into that. Emma, where do you come down on age? Every now and then on this, what just happened, it turns into like a discussion of real life, which I actually like. Do you talk about your age to anyone? I'm not asking your age. Does it matter? Are you aware of it because you're an actress as well? Does it come into the back of your mind at all or no?
It comes into the back of my mind. I didn't care so much, but in this last like 2 years, actually Hind was one of the people where I had said my age because I don't care. I know what I appear like and I have a young spirit. And like I got told, like, why would you tell me your age? If you didn't tell me your age, I would have thought you were a decade younger. Don't. And on that note, people also, when I told them I'm moving to Florida, are like, don't tell anybody you moved to Florida. Tell everybody you're in New York. And I'm like, so to be an entertainer, you just kind of have to, every third word out of your mouth has to be a lie in order to survive here.
Well, the Florida reason, tell people why, because you're an actress and it's for auditions and local hire rules here in New York. Like it's actually a union thing and a business part, that part. It's right, isn't it? Or no, they just think, they think that you've quit the business if you move to Florida. Is that what they're getting at?
I think that's a projection on people's minds. Like if they moved out of New York, their career would be shot.
Oh.
But what you end up getting hired as is like a local hire, which just means that your flight and your stay are not the production's problem. So I've worked in LA as a local hire many times, and I'm gonna do the same in New York. You just say you're a local hire and it's done. And you self-tape now, so it hasn't hindered my career at all.
I actually, to be honest, I'm actually in Montana. This is a green screen of a New York apartment behind me because I moved there a long time ago when my Social Security kicked in. I'm like, no one's going to know. It's so funny. Hen, my fiance, who we speak of all the time, I should just get her. She's in the other room. Never speaks of age. If someone asks her age, I look away. I'm like, this is going to get ugly. I'm like, don't, because she won't talk about it. And because she's a woman in the Hollywood, she's in the entertainment business. And there are certain people that become dismissive, and she's not at whatever age that might be. It doesn't matter. She looks much younger, but you can't be oblivious to the business we're in. I mean, Rhonda, what's your take on this as a woman of color?
I just say I am a Black woman. I identify as a strong Black woman, but really inside me is a fragile blonde, and she's quite young. She's quite young and live. But being a woman of a certain age, I really appreciate the experience that I have. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I know is so valuable that I'm not going to diminish it. Wherever I am going to be determined to be comfortable in my skin. If other people are uncomfortable, that's their business. But I can't control who's going to hire me. I haven't been asked on a casting couch in 2-3 decades now. So
no casting couch?
No casting couch in the last 3 decades. So.
And Dustin Chafin is coming to us from a casting couch right now.
Yeah, I am.
I just always matter to you age. Does it matter to you age as a comic? Are you self-conscious at all? Does it matter?
Well, I mean, occasionally it'll come up, but I still dress like I'm 20, so I just embrace that, and I also feel like comics better than everybody else in the sense of, you were talking about like staying young. I mean, it's like we're always around young people. That helps us stay young. Every green room, there's a young person. It also helps with racism too. We're all around different people and different genders and whatnot. And so I think we're more well-rounded people, but I think people get better. I mean, look at George Carlin. I mean, he got better when he got older. I mean, there's people, it's like, if you're good, it doesn't matter.
He's even better in death now. He's
exactly AI, now he's
AI
so
George
good.
Carlin.
Even
we talked about it last week on the show. Kelly Carlin was not happy at all. It's it's funny. People, if I can't even understand people who have not been exposed to other races and cultures, because I grew up in a multicultural home, a multi-religious home, and my mom's Catholic and Italian, my dad Palestinian and Muslim. So you had that. Also, North Jersey was not that. My dad was the diversity of the area, but it still, there was some being in here. And then in the comedy world, I can't tell you how much I've learned about other races and cultures from watching comics on stage. I always remember, like 20 years ago, Sherrod Small, you know Sherrod, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if Ronnie know, talking about white people going, the police are our friends, that kind of stuff. And Black people going, they shoot us a lot. And I would think about it, I'm like, wow, this is like, I would talk to him about it. And the experience was so vastly different. And he was right. Because I did grow up as a white guy, even though my name's Obeidallah and Allah in it, I look white. So I thought as a white person, yeah, the police are our friends. And then over this 20 years, I've learned a great deal. Don't get me wrong. But it was really eye-opening to learn from my comic friends about their life experience that they were putting on stage. It was really authentic and honest. And I think that's great comedy. And people learn from that. And now every comedy room, but still, Dustin, there are nights at some clubs not far from me. It's just white guy after white guy. It's just remarkable because they don't even care. It's not racist. They just don't care. They don't.
But Dean, I just had that experience over the holidays when I was around some of my white family and friends. They were so excited about having their young person get tinted windows on his new car. And I'm looking at them going, tinted windows for a Black person, that's an automatic pullover and a possible death sentence, and it really is all about your experience and your understanding of how the world works differently for different people.
Yeah, and I also feel like young people sometimes they act like they're doing something new and cool. Yeah, we did that in the 80s. Tinted windows. You're not cool. Like, I mean, that's the thing is like young people think just because they're young, they're cooler or more hip. It's like you're not, dude. It's like you're into vinyl now, or we were into that in the 80s or whatever. Like, everything just circles around. So you're not any cooler than me.
It does, Dustin. It's just that now they can tell everybody in the world about it on the internet, But we've done all of those things. We just had enough sense to keep it under wraps. That's all.
Let's badmouth the Gen Zers for a little bit. Come on, isn't that fun for a second? Aaron's like,
you're not cooler than me.
No, but the thing that Dustin's right. The younger comics think they've made some unique observation. I'm like, yeah, that joke's been done 20 years, okay, buddy?
Yeah,
like you haven't invented something new.
No.
Why do people do this? Have you ever noticed this? Yeah, we've all noticed it, you moron. Yeah. We have tapes of jokes. Stop telling. You're not being clever. Be truthful to who you are. Share your experience. That makes you the most honest and unique when it's you. So, sorry. I'm still chatting with Amel Khalil, Rhonda Hansome, and Dustin Chafin. No one's gone away. So Taylor Swift, calmly, her fans known as Swifties. Aaron, my producer, is one of them. So are my nieces. Love Taylor Swift. And I think my sister kind of likes her as well. She's touring in Europe between May and August, and remarkable. This article caught my eye because it was in Reuters. It's a real story. Demand for flights to the city she's in on those weekends have gone up by 330% in one case, 176% going to Liverpool, 339% up in Warsaw, because who's going there for tourism? It's like, where are you going? Warsaw for tourism? No. So 338%. Then Liverpool, Paris increased, although there's an overlap with the Olympics, so I wouldn't give Taylor all of that one. But the other stuff is 100% true. Demand, Stockholm has jumped in hotels. Her Swifties, I've never seen this. And she's a power to be reckoned with, even politically, if she wants to be. Emma, are you a Swiftie? I don't know. No?
No, I mean, there's some songs that I know. Like I will dance to some of her music, just like I'll dance to if you right now, I'll dance to it. But
is that your test for good music? Is that your test? That's your metric? Like dance?
Does my body agree with it? Yes.
It's a pretty good test. It's a pretty good test.
Oh.
Is there anybody? So Emma, is there any performer that you would fly to Europe to go see sing? Are you a fan of anyone out there?
I'm a big fan of Ed Sheeran. Like a huge fan of Ed Sheeran. So I would probably fly somewhere for him, but like he's come to New York and I've missed his shows to do a comedy show. So like I don't know how much I care about Ed Sheeran either.
Interesting. Rhonda, what about you? I mean, first of all, have you ever seen this kind of devotion? This is huge. I mean, Taylor Swift played the New Jersey here at the stadium that used to be called Giant Stadium. It's MetLife Stadium, like 3 to 4 nights in a row and sold it out. Like, I've never seen this. It's not Bruce Springsteen would come for one night, maybe two, because he's Bruce from Jersey. And U2 would come for one night. She goes to all these cities and does 3 and 4 nights in a row of major stadiums and sells out. And it's not like a Trump rally where 4,000 people have got nothing left in their life, show up and hang out for free. They're paying top dollar to see her and they're going. So, Ron, have you seen anything like this in terms of devotion?
Well, it's not just devotion. I think Taylor has a very, very subtle but intense campaign to take over the world. She is doing she's having a tremendous impact just on the world economy. And you know that move she did where she gave all the people who work for her like these tremendous Christmas bonuses. I mean,
don't say that to my staff. Sorry.
She's cultivating her cult, And I think she's looking to be the empress of the world.
Wow. So she could be like an anti-MAGA, like a whole like good and be nice. And she's been very outspoken in defense of LGBTQ rights. She's very against right wingers. She's for women's reproductive freedom because it's part of being a woman, the idea of having your own self-determination. Interesting. Dustin, what about
went to Rami's
oh, she went to Rami Youssef's stand-up show. That was a fundraiser for ANERA that helps Palestinian civilians. And Megyn Kelly and some others call for a boycott. That's really went well. And it just shows you how toothless you are when you call for a boycott and the person is just getting bigger by the moment. And in response to the call for a boycott by Megyn Kelly, they asked Taylor Swift and she goes, "Who's Megyn Kelly?" Exactly. Exactly. So Dustin, so what's your take? Have you ever seen this level of huge devotion turnout?
I have. I think it's I think when Taylor fans, speaking of age, when they turn 40, they're going to look back like New Kids on the Block fans, look at the band and be like, was I into that? Like, was I, or it'll be like, I hope I live long enough to see old Taylor Swift and just watch the people go to the concert. I went to Guns N' Roses. It was a banged up. It was pretty banged up. I mean, it was like
the band or the audience, like both?
Everybody. We were all banged up. It was like Axl could get through about 6 songs, and like it's like half the audience was like in wheelchairs because of things they did in the 80s. It was a lot. It was a lot, but it was like. But that devotion, I think she is a good person. I love what she's doing with politics. I think she's getting people to vote, which is amazing. Get people registered. But that's huge because I think that's going to be the thing is if young people check out, we're going to have a big problem.
I agree.
think she's getting them more excited. So I think
did you really? You're not kidding.
The music's trash, though. I'm not into the music.
All right, let's not get into it. Stop. We're gonna cut this out. He
drew the line so hard when he was like, "Don't talk about her music."
No, because Aaron.
But there's so many good. There's so many good musicians that I wish kids would get into, and they don't. They just get into whoever's in front of them, and that's the thing.
On. Okay, Guns N' Roses. Did you really go to a Guns N' Roses concert?
I did. I'm not going to make that up. Yeah.
I know you're not Hansome and Hansing. I get it. Right.
Yes, he went to the Guns N' Roses concert. Even the
Hollywood Bowl. The Hollywood Bowl is last month.
Stop.
Yeah.
No,
ushers were using walkers.
There was an early bird special involved for food. No, I ask comics when they tell me a story. I go, "Is that real? Or are you Hansome and Hajing it?" And they go, "What?" And I go, "So."
No, yeah, I do. Everything I say is legit. Yes.
By the way, I defend Hansome and Haj. She can say whatever he wants. He's done a great job as a comic.
Okay.
And
Taylor Swift is not trash music. It's not trash music. I'll take that back. You could say that.
No, but were the people, I was curious, honestly, about Guns N' Roses. Were there any younger, newer fans, or was it just people who had come up and liked them in the 90s when they were huge and had those?
Most of these shows I go to like this, like Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, it's always a dad, and you could tell they have the kid for the weekend. So they're getting that. So they're getting that kid into the band. It's always single dads and the kid. That's usually most of the show when it comes to the young people that are there.
My dad took me to this concert. These old people sang songs. I saw them on YouTube. I don't even know what something about it. And the guy was trying to do a serpent snake and his back went out. like Axl.
I saw Alice Cooper. They were really old there.
Oh, Alice Cooper. Oh my God.
He had a real snake and everything. Yeah.
No, because remember in the famous video where Axl does like the welcome to the jungle, and right now it's
kind of do that.
Kind of welcome to the God.
Pretty slow.
This brought to you by Ben Gay. I'm not even kidding. Rolling Stones. This sounds like a joke. It's not. Their current tour is sponsored by AARP, the Association of Retired People. That's not a joke. That's literally the truth. You can see it. And at first, I told people, they all laugh. I go, I'm not kidding, and it actually makes sense because he's like 80, Mick Jagger, and the people going are going to skew either people who are retired or seniors or about to be seniors, people in their 50s, and they're trying to get them to be in. And it's so weird. Do you think the Rolling Stones would ever been when they were younger? Like one day we're going to be sponsored by a retirement organization, and that's what they are.
Or even depends. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be.
But you know what? I wish the kids would get into the Rolling Stones because it's great music. Don't just not like it because of a boomer.
I think it's good, but there are some music. I've talked to some musicians who have said not the best thing about the Rolling Stones music, that they're basically a blues cover band. I'm not saying
So is
that.
Led Zeppelin.
I'm just saying
everybody is. They all
I've
stole
known
from black music.
musicians who said that, who are known musicians. But anyway, so chatting with our friends Amel Khalil, Rhonda
But you
Hansome,
defend
and
Taylor.
Dustin Chafin, because she is important. She's going to help us win in 2024. So she's perfect, and she's getting younger people to vote, get registered to vote, not give up on the system. Now, here I found this really amusing. Madonna, who I used to like a great deal. I have nothing against her. I just used to love her music, not as much now, but if I hear it, I'll listen to it. But at one point, I really loved her music a great deal. And she's also Sicilian, like me, half Sicilian. She's being sued. This is unbelievable. 2 people in New York who had tickets to her 8:30 show in Brooklyn, and that she didn't go on stage till 10:30. And they are it's a real lawsuit. It's covered by CNN. Alleges that filed Wednesday, false advertising and negligent misrepresentation. She started her concerts at Brooklyn's Barclays Center after 10:30 on all 3 nights. And the people who sued said it was we couldn't, when we got out, it was hard to get rides. There was no subways, and she lied. And my question is, what lawyer took this case? I'm a lawyer. This is bullshit. But it's the idea that an artist is going to get sued for starting. I'm sure there were opening acts as well. It wasn't like they sat there in silence at the Barclays Center for 2 hours going, this is boring. They're probably opening act after opening act, and then she comes on. Rhonda, you've opened for people like Diana Ross and Anita Baker and others. What have you ever seen them go on 2 hours late? That is a little late, but so be it.
I have not seen and no one I opened for went on 2 hours late. Anita Baker was 45 minutes late because she was in another state than the rest of us. But I remember waiting for Terrence Trent D'Arby for over an hour, and I knew that his career was like not going to be for long because and I also knew I wasn't going to be going to that kind of concert anymore because there was no seating, and I'm going, why am I standing in this building waiting for someone who doesn't respect the fact that, I've been here for an hour? But you have to understand, for mature people who quite possibly had to hire a babysitter, for people who are trying to get out of Brooklyn when, there's the maniacal stabber on the trains right now. I mean, to be held up for 2 hours past what you had anticipated can make an impact on your travel plans, on your finances. I mean, it's a real thing. It absolutely is a real thing once you get into a certain age bracket.
Well, look, unless they seal the doors at the Barclays Center, the people could have left. She could have started late, and they're like, okay, we have to leave at 11:15. We saw 45 minutes of Madonna. I wish we could have seen more. It's not like, and then she sealed the doors when she got on stage at 10:30. You couldn't leave. We were like, let us out. Madonna's
Rhonda, you sound like the lawyer who took the case. Like you were ready. You had your points.
I'm like, are you kidding me? This is insane.
Well, first, I would like to say, it's Madonna. It takes her 2 hours to bring her back to life. You know what I mean? They got to fill her up and fix a flat.
We're cutting that out. That's unbelievable.
But Dean, you have to understand, she was 2 hours late. Their edibles had already peaked by that time.
Yeah, but it's like a slippery slope. What are you going to sue a comedian for burning the light? Like what? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm going to say. What's next? So the comedian went on a half hour longer. I couldn't believe it. I had things to do.
Yeah.
Amel, have you been to concert? Do you go to concerts at all?
No.
It's fine. I'm not.
I'm laughing to myself. I feel like I live under a rock. Like I'm not one of the kids, even though I maybe appear to be one of them. My biggest issue with this article is that people are arguing over like private transportation costs. And I'm like, what level of entitlement have we come to where I'm going to sue someone because my private driver like took longer, I had to pay more. And if I went to a concert and they were late, I would probably do what you said. I would either bounce or just go take another edible so that it could like last longer or something. You know what I mean? There's a solution somewhere.
Dustin, when did Guns N' Roses go on stage? Late?
Well, they went early because they have to go to bed pretty early these days. So that show started like 6 p.m. They were like, boom, boom. It was really tight.
We're starting like.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your age, I guess. Like I don't care. I expect a rock star to be a rock star. I think there was rumors Axl Rose would be 2 hours late and stuff. I mean, rock stars do that kind of stuff. I think it's just, if you're
But
really
that's
into
because
you
they're
don't care.
irresponsible, Dustin.
They are, but
also
they're
rock
drug
stars.
addicts. A lot of people are drug addicts,
Yeah.
things like that. So it's like, I mean, I'm not saying it's acceptable, but I'm saying I understand it. And if you're a fan, then you just hang out and then you go with it and hope that they play your favorite song.
Right. Would I be upset if I waited 2 hours on a Madonna concert? Yeah, because I'm a New Yorker, but I wouldn't sue anyone over it. And conversely,
once she broke out Material Girl, you'd forget all about
Like a Virgin. I'm like, that's it. I'm here, folks. That's it.
And then you're into it. And
Dress me up in your love. I'm like, I'm dressed up in her love. A girl I went to law school with, mother wrote the song "Dress Me Up with Your Love." It's kind of bizarre. I don't even know how. There's Italian woman, Italian-American woman from Jersey. It's also funny, Dustin, like you mentioned, they go on earlier. Like there's a 5:00 show at New York Comedy Club that I love doing. And the crowd, I'm like, this is perfect. If there was a brunch show, I would do that. Like the older I get, the earlier I go. I'm like, I can do spot at 5:30 and be done and feel good about myself. Yeah. I'm like, perfect. It's also New York has gotten earlier.
I want to do that show. Who books that?
Rye Daddy, our buddy Rye Daddy.
Rye Daddy, we'll hook you up.
Rye Daddy.
Thank you.
All right, we only like a minute and a half left, and I want to give you guys a chance to plug what you're working on, what's going on with you. Let me start with my friend Amel Khalil. Where can people follow you? Social media or website? What do you want to plug?
So my Instagram is AmelMK, AmelMKay. That's where most of my stuff is until Instagram takes me off for talking about Palestine too much. So try to find me there while you can.
If you want to learn about Palestine, follow Amel and her comedy and acting career. But our stuff does look a lot. I've never posted more about Palestinian issues than in this conflict in my entire life, because generally people didn't care about it, but this time they did. Rhonda, what about you, my friend? Where can people follow your work, your postings and stuff?
Well, I hope people come out to Brooklyn tomorrow night. I'm at Brooklyn Art House doing storytelling on the show We're All Gonna Die. And then the following week, I'm at the West Side Comedy Club. Look for me on, all the old folks can look for me on Facebook at Rhonda Hansome Comedy and on Twitter at Rhonda Hansome, like a handsome man without the D.
And Dustin Chafin, my friend, who's coming to us live from LA, where can people follow you?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Dustin_Chafin. And I will be in Ogden, Utah, February 16th and 17th at Wise Guys headlining. And then on the 20th, I'll be with the Nate Bargatze Be Funny tour. We're going to Virginia, Maine, Washington, D.C. It's going to be a great tour. So check that out.
Nate is so funny. I'm so happy for the guy. And I'll be in Utah tomorrow. I'm going to Sundance Film Festival to be on a panel about Muslims in the media. I have to do it before I get fired from the media because I talk about Palestine too much on the show. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So me and Mason Zayed are going out to MPAC and the Duke Foundation are bringing us out. So I'll be there Sunday for the panel, Saturday and Sunday. That's why I won't be hosting Monday because I'll be flying back Monday. But so I don't know why they couldn't do an event like in Aruba. Like, why can't you do it? That's what I'm designed for. But, well, Amel, thank you for being on your first time. It's great having you on. We're going to have you back on in the future. Rhonda and Dustin, as always, great to see you guys. We look forward to chatting with you, all of you, more in the future.